2 containers, 1 kit. And this kit gives you a true 20-foot double wide shipping container, a full open span, which doesn't require a single stitch of weld. And the best part is this ships right to your door and is truly a DIY friendly way of modifying shipping containers. Don't hit the camera. What I love about the kit is that it is low profile, meaning that it can be the base double wide to another one on top of it. And it could potentially be utilized on 40-foot shipping containers with a post in the center. The alignment cones are the true hero in this design. The 3-inch gap in between the containers allows us to fold special profiles and make sure that we can connect these 2 containers together with bolt-on fittings and still shed the water between the containers instead of having that leak right into your floor. And guess what? We tested that. We water tested this thing and we had it outside all summer long. Not a single leak. These aren't just any shipping container. These are the ModBox, designed by yours truly. And what makes these containers special is the top tubing. Instead of being a 60mm by 60mm square tubing, it's a 60 by 80mm rectangular tube. And then similar concept down at the bottom. Instead of a C channel down there or a Z profile, it's now a rectangular tube, and that adds the structural integrity needed in order to span that full 20 feet when we drop these corrugation panels. Another key feature to the ModBox is the rectangular tubing inside is the same height as the finished wood flooring. And now we don't have a tripping hazard going right across here. From there, we finished out the interior by framing it with a very unique strut channel framing method. We then 2-pound closed cell spray foamed the entire thing and finished it with these PVC wall panels. We have electrical run all throughout the interior and lighting, and then we made sure we put a mini split unit for HVAC. Here we go, this is the moment of truth. We have most of the wall cut out, just a little tab up top and a couple tabs down below. That's gonna ensure that this panel drops outwards and hinges outwards, so the panel doesn't kick back and take out my ladder and keeps me nice and safe inside. Let's see how she goes. Don't hit the camera. I was really guessing that. Wow, that's actually really solid. I'm very impressed. I've just been inside another container that we cut the whole sidewall out of. That was a C-channel type container, so it's only got one of the vertical webs, and it is definitely way more of a springboard than this. And this here has the fork pocket still. And so that takes out a lot of the strength out of this rec tube, and it's still acting very well. So I really like the idea of building containers this way, but it's such a small cost. 150 bucks to make that tube a little bit bigger, convert this C channel to a rec tube, and now all of a sudden the whole planet has 20-foot containers that are ready to modify. Wow, that was fast. I just took a 5-minute phone call and these guys are already done installing these on one container. We've installed these in a different order than you would. You would want to install these first. So the first thing you do is you grab these 5 units and you jump inside your container that is unmodified and you mount them to that top 60mm tubing immediately. Then you can start dropping your exterior panels, and you know that this is going to give that top square tubing the additional support that it needs to ensure that you're staying cambered upwards or it's nice and flat and not drooping. Because otherwise you're gonna have to get in here with some jacks or teleposts or something and make sure that you're lifting up that tubing. And a lot of times if you're not putting even pressure on there, you end up with a container that's got a bit of a wave to it in the roof. And if you do that on 2 separate containers, then try to bring them together, your waves better match. So I'll be running the caulk up here, and it's important that you choose the proper adhesive / sealant. And so here we got our Dowsil or a Dowsil 795. The contractor's weatherproofing sealant, I'm told, is the identical product as Dowsil 795, but way less expensive because they don't have to warranty it for glazing windows. So that's an interesting thought and a way for you guys all to save money. So keep that in mind when you're purchasing your sealant, but we really like this product. It's not just a sealant, it's also an adhesive. So in this instance, we're gonna be able to structurally secure this header to this container because we did notice an error on the prototype parts. On these parts here, we actually have small holes. These are just 3/16 holes, and I would like those to be 5/16 thread cutting bolts. So we're actually gonna try drilling this and just using our structural rivets for now. It's this edge that I wanna make sure I got sealed up real well. So I'm gonna do that first while I remember where it is. The part is kind of there's a potential for it to install the wrong way. And so you really got to make sure that the part that pokes inwards is 1.5 inches because you're going to have a 3-inch gap between these two containers. And that is very important for the high capacity bridge fittings or our new alignment cones, we call them. So that part's done, but I'm also going to want to caulk the top portion of this. Oh, they say this stuff installs in the rain, so I'm going to put that to the test here too. We wanted to pressure wash this because a lot of times there's bird shit all over the roofs of these shipping containers and it looks like crap in the video, so we did that for you guys. Okay, we got one clean shot at this. So here we also had a little, I guess, whoopsie in the design, and something I changed on my future ModBox design is there's stiffener plates here. This is a 3mm thick stiffener plate up on top, and that helps top lift operators when they try to, or they miss the hole here, and they would otherwise poke through here, but because it's now 6mm thick, that withstands that pressure of that twist lock and doesn't damage the shipping container. But we got lucky here too. I really wanted to try gusseting the sidewall, so I left a little bit of corrugation in from the corner post, so I could have got another 6 inches of double wide room inside of this thing, but it is not worth it in my opinion. Leaving a little bit of corrugation on the end walls. Ideally, you pretty much want that to be 2 feet. It really gets that weight to transfer down into the corner posts and into your foundation of your container home or container-based structure or whatever you're building out of these things. Oh yeah, that ripped through there. Okay, so here we just got to repeat the process for the rest of this container, and then we're going to jump on to the next one. Film crew behind the camera, they really think that everyone's going to want this kit instead of that big, tall 40-foot double wide, and I can see why. Definitely with 20-foot containers, because you're only having to span 20 feet. On 40s, this kit could work, but you're going to need temporary support posts, probably 2 of them, somewhere inside of your envelope. And so if you plan on building bedrooms, you're going to have interior walls anyway. You can do posts. You can probably get away with a kit like this. That's what it looks like. There you have it. That's the last piece. So I don't know, what did that take us? We were figuring everything out as we went, modifying parts, and 1.5 hours, 2 hours max. So what we've noticed with our double wide kits on the 40-foot containers is that we do get a lot of bounce in the floor. And unfortunately, if the 2 floors aren't tied together, you'll get that differential settling between the 2 of them. So you can jump in one and the other one's staying still. And so we want them to be tied together, and ideally all the weight in the center of the floor, we want that to transfer to the outside walls, because those walls are actually what transfer all the weight down to the corner posts and into your foundation. So we got ourselves call it a fork pocket sleeve. So it's just basically a channel folded in the shape of these fork pockets. And we want to be able to just slide these in here. But I made a couple adjustments. And so there's just a little bit of material we got to sand out of here. We want to make sure that these are sliding nice and easy through all of the fork pockets, because we're going to need to be able to align these containers perfectly and sleeve these as we bring the 2 units together. This alignment cone kit should come with bolt-style bridge fittings. These are an essential tool for getting the containers to come together tight right at that last little bit. And then if you want, you can actually just weld this. So it's a 1/2-inch mild steel plate there, and then you got yourself a very rigid connection, and that's something that a structural engineer is gonna enjoy, a solid weld in there. Or these can just actually stay on there. So if you're in a remote location, you don't have power, even if you know how to weld, but you don't have a way to plug it in, these will work. That's actually amazing how tight I can get that. So before we were finding variance anywhere from 3 inches to 3 1/8 or 3 1/4 with those high capacity bridge fittings. But with these being laser precision, we know we're within 1,000th of an inch. I think the paint would be more of a variance than the actual laser cut metal itself. So that we can now trust. Jump to the other side. The last one went really well. I expect this to go the same. Given we're utilizing a weldless structural header kit and there's absolutely 0 welds with this, it's all just fastened into the structural header of the shipping containers, we need to seal this up. And I've done this myself. I've taken very good care of how I've caulked all along the edge here, this full 20 feet on either side of the container, and I've done it twice. So I really want to, before spray foam, go over this with a quick water test just to make sure that inside of there I'm not observing any water dripping. Let's try it out here. So at the beginning, I just put the water on both sides of this header to see if there's any leaks between the actual 60mm tubing and the header kit itself. And they said that it looks mint down there. It's kind of surprising actually. So now I'm really gonna get in between here because I didn't really do that well of a job. I'm not as worried about the water getting inside of here as I am where it actually comes up against this header kit. So I'm gonna try it out here now and just see if I got any screams from the inside. Anything? What? Boring. Well, that's what we wanted to hear, I guess.
Walking dead.
5 3/4. Woo! So we got quite a bit of variance there. We got 5 3/4, 5 7/8, 5 1/2, 5 1/2, 6 inches, and then 5 3/4. So this thing, these containers, they're bowing on us. And we did see that before we even started modifying them. So we're not surprised to see this. But given that there are 2 vertical planes and we're hoping that in 3D land, they work perfectly. So we go straight up and down with the 2 sides of the ridge caps. Now that that doesn't fit in there perfectly, we got ourselves a problem. So we're gonna go back to the drawing board and fix this problem. So if we commercialize this kit and get it available for you to purchase, you don't run into the same issue, because even though these containers are specialty containers and other one-time use shipping containers might be straight, a lot of used containers have damage to this top tubing. They're dented in a little bit and you guys are gonna observe that damage. So if I can get you some planes that have slotted holes that allow for a bit of an adjustment, it's gonna be much better than this. It's supposed to fit on the OD of this, and look right here. Drops in inside of it. Guess we're ordering new ones. I was jumping on this container before spray foam and it was like a trampoline. It's a lot more solid now, but it's not as solid as I expected. Normally we frame with steel studs, or some people like to use wood studs across the roof, and that stud gets locked in that spray foam. That turns into a relationship similar to what rebar would be to concrete. And in this scenario, we don't have that. And so now it's just a slab of foam under here, and it is more springy. That surprised me. That's something I just learned today, and that's something I want to share with you guys. So make sure when you're framing across the ceiling of your shipping container, you get that locked into your spray foam. If you plan on using a batten insulation, it's gonna mold and you do not get the structural benefits of the foam, so stay away from it. So this here behind me, this is one shipping container. It's basically touching on the four corners only and completely connected together with this double wide kit here. And so there are the bolt style bridge fittings that are on here still holding this together. I really want to, worst case scenario, just for demonstration purposes, I might wreck the whole thing, but I want to take those out and I want to test how these alignment cones hold. They do have welds holding them in place, and ideally that's all that we would want as the structural connection between two containers. So just from my past experience, I do know these things, when you do weld them together, they sure stay nice and tight together, and you can grab them with a forklift often as a double wide from one container and move them around. So I'm not too worried about it, but let's try it out here. There we go. So yeah, there's that alignment cone right in the middle there. That's 1/2 inch steel. That's all welded inside. It's basically like a twist lock, but it doesn't twist. It just aligns the two together, so we can use a come along or something, bring them together, give her some welds. There's also the entire flashing kit, so the 10 gauge kit that's connected. Both the floors are welded together, and that's all riveted together or bolted together up at the top. So it's all holding together. Now I gotta get a ladder. There we go. So that basically proves that these are just tools. They're not an actual component required for these kits. And so instead of using these bolt style bridge fittings, one could just use a come along or something. You just need these as a tool to get the two containers 3 inches apart, which is what's defined by those alignment cones. Once that's all welded together, I guess keep these in your arsenal. Wow, with 0 lights on inside of this thing and only these 3 windows, it is so bright in here. This white PVC wall panel really reflects the light and makes it very cozy inside of here to work. But the hidden gem behind this, and probably what's even harder than designing this whole bolt together double wide kit, is this framing method. I think a lot of people don't realize how much work goes into this, and this is a very new and unique way for us to be framing the inside of containers. So we really struggled with individual brackets, and we wanted a system that connected everything together and used laser precision to align where all of our vertical struts would be, and then that makes sure that these are always nice and parallel to each other. And so with this system, we utilize a bottom baseboard, so to speak, and then up here we have both the side profile and top profile, and hidden behind here is the strut strapping, which really defines where these either vertical struts can be or the 16-foot ones that go right across the roof. And why we really like to strut line the interiors is because now we can surface mount all of the electrical, and in industrial and commercial builds such as this, that is totally the way to go, because if our panel's surface mounted and all of our electrical is, it's very modifiable. And so when the use of this changes, so can the electrical. We can run data this way. It really works nicely in this type of environment. Another component that doesn't get a lot of credit, but really helps us save time on our mods, are our wall flashing kits and door flashing kits. These, it used to be very stressful on how we would finish up to the doors and finish the doors themselves, and now it's the least stressful part about doing these modifications. So having these kits pre-manufactured, in stock, ready to go has really sped up our ability to pump these units out. And then what I really like about this double wide kit specifically, and what we tried differently here, is we left a 1/2 corrugation here, and we got a pillar now, and that tends to gusset this corner and really make sure that that span of that rectangular tube transfers that weight down and into the foundation of the container. And we tried to carry on our strut framing method here up to the wall flashing kit, and then just a galvanized cover. That turned out quite sharp. The electrical box here is surface mounted, and that allows us to pipe out, as you see with our panel plug here, and we can head off to the other plugs or up to the lights and other areas of this office. And we went with the Homeline panel here. It's a nice bright panel. We typically utilize the Square D panels, which are more industrial, but given this is just a site office, it looks a lot prettier, and yeah, it was a better choice here. One shortcoming with this framing method, and something that we want to continue to improve on, is that not all the components are covered pre-spray foam. And so here you can see that spray foam has oversprayed both the strut channel, the strapping, and some on the floor. And so future methods and future iterations, we really want to come up with a mantra where everything pre-spray foam is not exposed after spray foam. So we install a bunch of things first, foam it all in. If it's oversprayed, who cares? And then make sure that everything is covered. And the next thing I want to show you is our mini split mounting kit outside. Let's jump out there and check it out. So here it is. This is our 2-ton condenser unit for our mini split. And this thing is massive. It is way bigger than the 1-ton units, and we didn't really plan for that. And so unfortunately, we weren't able to put the head unit above the window on this end wall, and we had to go along the side. And that made us run all of our copper pipes along the outside, and I really don't like the look of that, but we're learning as we go. And we did go with that 2-ton unit because typically we use the 1-ton unit on a single 20-foot office. Well, this is twice as big, and we figured we'd need twice as much heating and cooling. But I think this thing is way overpowered, especially with this thing being spray foam. But what's interesting is that it does utilize the same mini split mounting kit. So these brackets here and the way that it mounts with these rubber isolators, it really absorbs all the sound, and it's very strong. With this, I can still jump on here. Obviously held it up without breaking, but this thing can sure vibrate, and it doesn't transfer that right back into the container. And one little tip or trick is when you put these strut channels on the outside, make sure you glue in behind them, because I don't like you screwing right through your shipping container. That pokes a bunch of unnecessary holes, so we just pin it with the MSS exterior brackets top and bottom, and then just get some no more nails or PL behind there and just lock those things in, so that just really helps absorb that vibration. So here it is, the finished double wide bolted together with no welding. The alignment cones structurally fasten these two shipping containers together, and they've given us that perfect 3-inch gap that we were looking for. The fork pocket sleeves and this added 3-inch center channel has connected these two floors together to be one. Inside, we spray foamed it to completely seal the envelope. We strut channel framed it for the ultimate flexibility, and this mini split keeps it comfortable all year round. The bolt-in header kit kept our roof cambered and passed our water test before and after spray foam. It's almost a year later, and with these ridge caps not even installed yet, this thing has not sprung a single leak. This is the start of a new way of modifying shipping containers. I promise to continually work on this kit to make it more and more DIY friendly and make sure that it's available for you to purchase. Leave them comments down below if you got value from this video, and as always, hope you learned something.